Aloha Underground's Aldrin Guerrero, and welcome to Ukulele Underground University, Uke 102, week number 6. This week we're going to go over chord inversions and extensions. So we've already passed through our halfway mark. We did a review last week, so we're gonna go and start the second half of Ukulele 102. And today we're gonna be starting the next 5 weeks with some chord inversions and extensions. So if you guys have ever wondered, okay, well, if I play A string third fret, I know that's going to be a C, but why is that a C? Can anybody tell me why that's a C and why that's a G or why that's a D or why that's an A? And if you've ever wondered that, then today is going to be a treat for you. We're going to be explaining to you folks how these chords work, how they're formed, and how we can invert them and extend them as well. So there's going to be a lot of information for today, and we're gonna get through get through it. Words are hard. Get through it as best as we can. And sorry for all these dangly strings. I just changed my strings. I wanted them to sound extra good for today's lesson. Yeah. As per usual, I'm joined by Mr. Kahai, the legend Fergan. Say what's up, Kahai.
What's up?
And in absence today is Aaron, the voice Nakamura. So Aaron Nakamura is off running somewhere in the Big Island, so he's doing his little running competition. So good luck, Aaron. We're cheering for you. I don't know exactly what it's, some kind of marathon thing.
Aaron always makes us look bad, right?
I know.
I'm just gonna go run this marathon, guys. So I'll be back real soon.
I'll be right back next week. It's like, what? So, for the rest of us who don't do any running whatsoever, maybe we do running on Super Mario Odyssey, but in real life, we don't really run. So, good luck, Aaron Nakamura. So, is there any questions so far with what we're going to be covering for today?
People are just getting in the chat, getting all settled. So
right on.
good.
So last week, what we did was a review. So what we did was we showed you folks how to create a simple song. So we learned how to write a simple song with picking. We took some chords from the chord family. We took our scale, so we know what notes we can play. From that scale, we did the chord family. We picked some chords from the chord family, and then we put them together. We did like a chord progression, and we also came up with some picking. We did that in the key of F, but you can do that in any key at this point and do some simple ukulele picking to it as well. You can write words to it. Pretty much, we showed you how to create a song from scratch, okay? So what we did, also, we set new goals for the next 5 weeks. So last week, we kind of, we did this part. We created we want to be able to create a song with advanced picking and melodies. So we showed you folks a simple song with a simple picking. Next, what we want to do for the next 5 weeks is create a song with advanced picking and melody. That's why today is going to be a little bit heavy on the theory stuff, but I'm going to try to get through it with as little theory as possible, and more, just like I showed you folks with the chord family, more, or the harmony. It's more patterns than actual theory, okay? We can also attempt song lessons with more confidence. So I know a lot of you folks have been kind of perusing our ukulele songbook on Ukulele Underground. We've done over 100 songs, maybe 110 songs, 120 songs at this point.
I think for sure, because we have like 30 solos alone, and
It's insane. Yeah.
We probably have like 30 whiteboards too.
It's an insane library of songs. So we have a huge selection of songs. What we want to be able to achieve after this next 5 weeks, or after completing the 10-week course, we want you folks to be able to attempt those song lessons with a little bit more confidence. So for example, if the song lesson calls for a like a bend or a parallel octave or something like that, all these advanced techniques, you guys should be like, all right, I think I know how to do this, and I can do this with a little bit more confidence. So that's what our goal is for the next 5 weeks, to complete the 10-week course. Next, we want to be able to improvise solos when given the key and chord progression. So all this stuff, all the 10 weeks worth of lessons that we're doing for Ukulele 102 ultimately leads to us being able to do improvisation. So if I gave you guys the keys, so for example, we're going to be playing in the key of F, and we're going to play 2-5-1 in the key of F, and go. I want you to create a solo. You're going to be able to do just that. You're going to improvise yourself into a nice little solo with, melodic solo. Okay? We did a little bit of that in our 5-week review, but with all the technique that you're going to learn within the next 5 weeks, you're gonna be a solo monster. Is what you're gonna be. Okay? So any questions on our new goals?
Nope, I don't think so. I think
all right,
everybody's just getting in.
Sounds good. So our goals for this week our weekly goal is going to be learn how to play chord inversions. All right. So not only are we going to play C here, but we're going to play C here, and 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 you're going to know why those are all C's. And we're also going to be creating and adding chord extensions. So we're going to learn how to do just that. How to create, for example, a C major 7, or C7, or C6, or a C add 9. So if you want to learn how to do just that, stick around. That's what we're going to be covering for today. If you've ever come across those chords like, oh my god, what is a D major 7 or E major 7? I don't know how to do that, so I'm just going to skip that chord. You no longer have to skip those chords. You're going to be able to play those with more confidence after today's lesson, all right? And the other thing we're going to be learning is to combine chord inversion knowledge and chord families to invert chord progressions. So for example, if I said, we're going to be playing 2-5-1 in F. You know what? I want you to do the next inversion of that 2-5-1 in F. And we're going to be able to do just that. So, you know, if we're going to do 2-5-1, we're going to play G minor, 5, and 1. And we're also going to be able to invert Right? So we're going to learn to do just that. So we're going to take the knowledge from inversions that we're going to learn today, and we're going to combine it with the chord families that we know, and we're going to create some chord progression inversions. All right? Questions?
Nope.
Nope. All right. This is the easiest week ever. So, chords and their inversions. First off, how do we create chords? A lot of you folks, like I mentioned earlier, have played C before, have played F before, G, A, D, F, B flat, whatever, what have you. You guys have played all these chords before, but have you guys ever wondered why these chords are what they are? And this is the reason. So in order to create a chord, major and minor chords, you're going to take the major or minor scale, and you're going to take 1, 3, and 5 of the scale, not to be confused with the major 1, minor 3, and major 5 of the chord family. It's just the literal one, the first, third, and fifth note of the scale. All right, then you have a major or minor chord. So let's put this into application, shall we? Let's take our handy dandy whiteboard. So our handy dandy whiteboard here, I've already kind of mapped out our C major scale. I like using C major because it has no sharps or flats. It just kind of explains stuff. And we already plugged in our formula of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that's our formula for our major scale. We learned this pretty early on in this course. All right, so if I were to write out our C major scale, we would then have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if we were to number those, this would be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, and 8. It then repeats again, just to give you guys a little refresher. C, then it goes to D, E, F, so on here, and that then becomes 2, 3, 4, etc. All right, so this is what we're going to be working with right here, these numbers. And I mentioned 1, 3, and 5 is what's going to create our chords. So we then have C, E, G. Okay, so if we have C, E, G, now let's put it into application here on our ukulele. So here is our C chord. Let's take a look at the notes that we're playing. G, C, E, and A string 3rd fret gives us our C. Let's look at this fretboard diagram right here. So on our fretboard, if we were to put it on our ukulele like this, G, C, E, A, and then A string 3rd fret, which then gives us our, there it is, our C notes. All right. So what that does is, oh, we have 1, which is our C, 3, which is our E, and 5, which is our G. 1, 3, 5. Remember how we got there? So just in case people are getting confused, how did he get that 1, 3, 5? C, E, G. We need those 3 notes right there in order to create our chord. So here we have our C notes, E notes, and G note. So these 3 notes together creates our C chord. But why then do we play A string 3rd fret? Because if we played an open A string, it would then be C, E, G, A. And that's not our C major scale, our C major chord. Our C major chord is just a simple C, E, G. It does not have A in it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play the next closest note to any one of our 3 notes, which then becomes A string 3rd fret for our C note. So we're doubling up that C. 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. All right, that gives you your C major chord. Now let's try that out if this works with our, with the rest of our major chords. Let's take a look at our G major chord. Okay, so with our G major chord, we've been working a lot with this, so we're just gonna fast track our way here. G, E string 3rd fret. Our G major scale is this, which is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay, so the notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We were to number them. So 1 would be E string 3rd fret for our G. So 1, 2, so G, A, B. So we have G, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or G, A, B, C, D. So we have our 1, 3, 5, G, B, D. So we need 3 of those notes in order to create our G major chord. So we have here, let's play our G major chord since we already know how to play it. So if we're to break this down, G, as your 1, and also your open G right here. So 1, and then A string 2nd fret, which is our B, so 1 and 3. We need that 5. So we said that 5 was right here, but that string is already occupied by our A string 2nd fret for the B notes. Okay, we have our open C here, and a whole step for that C is a D note. We're basically just playing that lower, which then gives us our G major chord. 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. And I assure you, if you were to do that with any of your other major chords, it will work also. Now, does that work for minor chords? And yes, yes it does. Okay, so our C minor scale. It's a little bit flat because, like I said, I just changed my strings, so it's going a little bit flat here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We learned that earlier this course as well. So our notes: C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C. So our 1 is C, of course. 1, 2, 3, which is our E flat. So C, D, E flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is our G note. So the difference between a major and a minor chord is that the 3 is flat, whereas 3 is not flat in our major chords. So what it is 1, flat 3, and 5 of our major scale, or 1, 3, 5 of our minor scale. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. So C, E flat, G gives us our minor chord triad. All right. So C, E flat. So let's play this E flat with our C string, G, and then A string 3rd fret gives us our C notes. So here's our 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. So these 3 notes right here will already create our C minor chord. This open G, if you play it that way, it'll still give you your C minor chord. Okay? But this is the chord that we're used to when we play our C minor. What that is just we're doubling up the C notes. So 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. It works for minor chords as well. So any questions so far? Now we know how to create major and minor chords. It's basic major chords and minor chords. Questions?
Well, Devin had his question answered,
Sure.
but I think it's like, or it's kind of a common misconception.
What's that?
Is that the root or like the name of your chord
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be the lowest note or the highest note,
No,
right?
no, it doesn't. And we're going to kind of explain it later on when we do inversions.
And then it's important that when you're looking for these chords, that to figure out what the chord is called, you start with a scale. So if
Yeah.
it's like a G major, and then you take the 1, 3, 5 from that, it'll be a G major chord.
Yeah. So these 3, just like remember when we did the chord families and no 3 major chords share the same with any of the other families. Same thing. No other major chords are gonna share the same 3 notes. Okay. So if I were to play C, E, G, that will be my C major chord. No other chords will have those 3, the combination of those 3 notes in it ever. Okay? It can be an extension, but it's never going to be any one of our major or minor chords. And just like with the chord family, I explained that during that lesson as well. That no 3 major chords share that, and that's kind of how you figure out that chord family or what key it's in. Okay. Let's see here. Let's move on. So now that we know how to create chords, what are chord inversions? So chord inversions are chords that have inverted their notes in different ascending order. So that right there, very, very, very important word, ascending order. So for example, EGC and GCE are inversions of the C chord CEG. So what I did, CEG, I just inverted the C all the way to the front instead. So this note right here. So here's our whiteboard once again. We have C, E, G. So C, E, G. The next note that we have here from that triad is another C, then another E, then so on and so forth. Remember I said that this goes on over and it repeats over and over and over again. So what it is because if we're doing it in ascending order, we have C, E, G, and if we were to take this out and place that C over here, it's going to be an inversion. So EGC is an inversion of our C major chord. So EGC is still a C major chord, and that pretty much explains Devin's question that the bass notes is going to be what that chord is. Not necessarily, because in this case, E then becomes our bass note. So it's in an ascending order, goes from lowest to highest. So E will be the lowest note, G, then C. Okay, so like I said earlier, as long as it has these 3 notes, it will be that chord. But we can kind of invert these notes so that we have different combinations and a different bass and a different high notes to make that note sound a little bit different. And this is what I mean. So now we know that EGC is an inversion of our C chord. Then GCE is another inversion of our C chord. So we have C, E, G as our original chord. here. So what we did was we inverted the C to the front. We then get E, G, C. Then we inverted the E to the front, which then gives us G, C, E. And so on and so forth, because you can have another C, E, G here. So there's 3 different ways for you to play that C major chord. Now let's try this out on our ukulele. How does it apply to your uke? Here we have C, E, G, whereas C is the lowest note. You guys have probably played this chord before as your C chord. You know, we did it for No Pi Pi. On the C string, we now have C string 4th fret, which is our E. And then E string 3rd fret is our G. A string 3rd fret is our C. So same notes, E, G, C, but this time E is our lowest note. So we have E, so 3, 3, 5, which is a G, and 3, 5, 1. So 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, and so we can invert that even further. This is our second inversion. So this is our first, and this is our second. Now this is going to be our third inversion of the C chord, because here we have G on the C string, which then becomes our lowest notes. E string 8th fret for our C, and A string 7th fret for our for our E. No, sorry, I was like, what is that? I'm used to thinking it in G. I'm like, that's not a B note, that's an E note. So G, C, E. Here we have C, E, G. Here we have E, G, C, and here we have G, C, E. Those are our 3 inversions. You're probably saying, but Aldrine, I saw you play the C there and C there. Remember when I said everything kind of repeats? So this right here is our C, E, G. So starting from the lowest note, C, E, G, in ascending order. That's why the word ascending is very, very, very important in inversions. And this right here. So this is the same thing with our C as our lowest note still. But instead, I doubled up on that C. Okay, and now I'm going to explain that a little bit more later on as well. Okay, so any questions on that? And that works with any chord. So not just C. We did that with the C, but you can do that with the F, G, A, B flat, whatever one you want. So with the G, we figured that out earlier, that G, B, D is your G major chord triad. So if we were to take this, and if we were to do this, G would then be, so we have our lowest to highest. Lowest to highest is D, G, D. So that is actually an inversion. Whereas G is not our lowest notes. But the next inversion up here is going to have your G as the lowest note. So we can't play a lower G than this because our strings do not allow it. So the lowest that we can play our G chord is with this chord shape, with D being the lowest note. Okay, so this inversion here is 5, 1, 3. 5, 1, 3. Whereas 5 is the lowest notes, followed by 1, followed by 3. This inversion right here, we have G, B, D, in the correct ascending order, 1, 3, 5. So just like that E chord shape, or you can even do this, just like your C chord shape, which is G, B, D. Questions?
So, I hope I'm saying this right.
Yes.
Luri Souza
Okay.
asks how to choose a fitting chord inversion.
How to pick a fitting chord inversion. Now it's kind of a loaded question because because they're the same notes, you can basically play whichever chord inversion that you want. But for myself, I will play the chord inversion that is closest to my melody line. So for example, if I'm playing if I'm playing a melody line that's down here, I'm not going to be playing the G up here. I'm going to be playing this G down here because it's closer to my inversion that I'm going to, it's closer to my melody line that I'm playing. Sorry, I'm saying inversion way too much.
I think that's an important point to cover, though, that it's like if somebody asks, like, why would you want to learn inversions? It's for, like, if you want to do, like, melody lines higher up the fretboard, you can transition to the inversions, right, instead.
Yeah, so, just Kahai is 1000% correct. You want to learn how to do inversions so that you can, take advantage of the higher frets up the neck, and you can create chords up in these frets as well. And if you're, playing in a duo, for example, or a trio, if all three of you are playing the same G, it's just gonna sound the same. It's gonna sound very convoluted. But if you guys are playing three different inversions of G, then it's gonna sound a lot more full. Okay, so imagine this G alongside this G alongside this G. All three of those G's playing at the same time is going to create a a nice, not harmony, but a nice spectrum of notes that are in the G scale.
Not to
triad.
Not to bag against, like, what is it, ukulele clubs?
Yeah.
But if you ever been to a ukulele club with, like, a lot of people, that's why it kind of and it kind of just sounds like a wall of sound, right? It's like, but then it's like if you add inversions on top of it, it's like, oh, you can kind of distinguish, like, some changes,
some different inversions. So that's why you want to learn how to play inversions, because you might want to be a little bit different. So you might want to put different voicings in there. If you're writing a song, definitely you might want to pick the right inversion that goes with that song. Okay, questions.
So Yoda asks, like, and we kind of covered it, is 5 always the lowest note?
No. Because with the inversions, the ascending order is 1 3 5, but you can invert it so that it's 3 5 1, or that it's 5 1 3, or that it's back to 1 3 5. So any there's basically three different inversions. The first inversion, which would be or the first position, which was 1 3 5. Second inversion is 3 5 1, and third inversion is second inversion is 5 1 3.
The numbers are kind of more specific to the scale, right?
Yeah, like the notes. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily what is low and what is high. It's just like those are the notes that you're looking to play.
Yeah.
It's 1 3 5.
So the lowest note in 1 3 5 is the 1. The lowest note in the 3 5 1 is the 3. The lowest note in a 5 1 3 is the 5. So it goes in ascending order. So a very important word, ascending order.
And then Devin asked, is that called different voicings? Is, like, inversions called different voicings?
Yes, I would say it's a different voicing for that, because you have a low C here. If you want a low C, or if you want a low E, or if you want a low G for your C, for your C chord, you're gonna be creating these three different voicings.
If you ever seen music too, that's where it's like they'll write the chord and then they'll write a slash, and the slash tells you kind of what notes that should be in that chord, or like what. That's the bass note, right? Like, what is the lowest note that it should be? So.
Lowest note in the bottom of the stack of notes that you have, if you've ever played piano.
So it's like for that, it's like getting into very specific. They want you to play a very specific
chord or inversion. Okay, so let's move on. Hopefully, I'm not losing, because it is kind of heavy on the music theory, but we want to explain to you folks what the theory is behind it, and then we'll show you a shortcut on how to do all this stuff. All right, so. Learning chord shapes. Here is the first shortcut that I want to show you. On the ukulele, we have 3 basic major chord shape. If you learn these 3 shapes, you're going to know every single major chord possible on your ukulele. All right? And I mean that. 3 basic major chord shapes are C major chord shape, a G major chord shape, and a B flat major chord shape. Okay, so we're not looking at these as a C chord. we're looking at these as shapes. So the C chord, if we were to take these 0, 0, 0, because it's 0, 0, 0, 3, right? And if we were to move them up, it would then become 1, 1, 1, 4. So the shape, we're keeping the shape. Let's see, the shape of that chord. Same thing with this G chord shape. The shape of the chord can be moved up or down, and that's why they're called movable chord shapes. So we're taking the shape, B flat, it then becomes C if we F, so on and so forth. You can move these shapes up and down, and there will be new chords corresponding to how many steps up or down this the fretboard you go. Okay, so the three major chord shapes: C, G, and B flat. Now let's take a look at what what we can do to use those as shortcuts. Okay, now we have this C major chord, or this C major chord. We have this C major chord, and we have this C major chord. Now, notice that this C major chord has the C on the C string, okay? And also has the C on the E string. Now what does that tell us? So C string, G string, then E string. Or you can look at it as A string, G string, and E string. Now what do I mean by that? Let's dive down even deeper. I know some of you folks are not quite there yet. So here is the pattern that I want you to see. If you want to create chord inversions, it's going to go in this pattern. It's going to be C chord shape, then it's going to be a B flat chord shape, and then a G chord shape. Okay, always in that order. So that means the next C chord or C inversion is going to be a C chord shape, right? So from here, we have this. You might have seen me do this like an E chord shape, but what that is basically the C chord shape, but instead of doubling up on our C notes, we're doubling up on our G note. So the only difference is these, which is there. Okay? Does this work with G? Remember I said this C chord shape has the C on the C string. I just have to find where the G note is on the C string. So the G note on the C string, 7th fret. And if I create that chord shape based on the 7th fret, it'll give me the inversion. So once again, G. The next shape I'm gonna look for is a C chord shape. And in order for me to get my C chord shape, I need to look at which fret is going to give me the G note. So the G note is going to come on the C string 7th fret, which then gives me my G inversion. The next one is going to be a B flat chord shape, right? So it goes C, G, then B flat, or G, C, B flat. In this case, G, C, and then B flat. So how did I get that so fast? I'm going to use my A string. So my A string, the G note on the A string, all the way on the 10th fret, and I'm going to build my chord shape around that. So this is a little bit more advanced. What was that?
If people need help with finding the note, we have
the fretboard diagram that I showed you earlier from the whiteboard. So this fretboard diagram here. And we also have a course called Mastering Your Fretboard if you want a little bit more help with figuring things out. Let's do this one more time, okay? So for those of you who are still, not quite getting it, our F chord, what does this look like? What shape is that? It's going to be our G chord shape. Because if we were to play 0, and 0. That is our G chord shape. So I said it was C, B flat, then G, right? So from our G chord shape, that means it's going to be a C chord shape that's next. So where is my my F note on my C string? It's going to be on the 5th fret. So if I build my my C chord shape around that note, I'm going to have my next F. So F here, and then F here. And then the next one is going to be a B flat chord shape. So B flat chord shape derives from our A string. Where is the F? There it is, A string 8th fret. Build that chord around it, which gives me F. F, F, and F. And I mentioned that there's that E chord shape, which is the same thing as our C chord shape. But this time, we're just playing it. Same chord. We're just doubling up different notes.
Could you show like how the G chord shape and the F chord shape is like similar, like with?
Okay, so the F chord shape, we have 0, 1, 0. If we were to move that up, it becomes 1, 2, 1, then becomes 2, 3, 2, which then becomes that G chord shape that we're more familiar with. And then G sharp, then A, then B flat, then B, then C.
And you can actually play the F shape. You'll just have to bar.
Yeah,
the
you
fret.
can. So if you're looking to bar it, that's that F shape. You can bar it here. If you want the full chord, what I'm doing is I'm just keeping this shape, and I'm actually muting the top string because we only need those 3 notes. Okay, let's try it one last time. Let's try our A chord. Now, what chord shape is that? It is our B flat chord shape. Because if we were to take our A chord and we were to move that half a step up, it looks like this. From here to here, that's our chord shape. So our B flat chord shape. So from B flat, what's the next chord shape? So it's C, B flat, then G, right? That means G chord shape. Now I need to find where my A note is on my E string. There it is. Build my G chord shape around it. There's my A chord. Next is a C chord shape. A string, 12th fret gives me my A, which then that becomes my A chord. So I have my A here, I have my A here, and I have my A here.
Somebody asked if you can do it with the E chord.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. So E. So this chord shape right here, same thing as this. Because we're keeping these 3 notes, just highlighting different notes on the A string. Still same, let's see, E, G sharp, and let's see, B. E, G sharp, B gives us our E chord. There's that B here, so we're just doubling up in this B. So this chord shape gives us the same 3 notes. E, G sharp, and B. But we'll just double the E. But I'm saying they're the same chord because what is the lowest note? E. Same thing. So that inversion is the same inversion because the lowest note is still E. Any questions on that? So C, then what is the next chord shape? Is going to be a B flat chord shape. That's what is our E notes on the A string? 7th fret. Build that B flat chord shape around it. That gives us our E chord. So we have an E chord here, here, and here. Last one is G chord shape, but we're gonna look for our E note on the E string. So we can't do it here because we can't get any lower than that. E is gonna be right here. So if you build your G chord shape around that E, gives your E chord. So this is an E chord, this is an E chord, this is an E chord, and that's an E chord. Questions? So that's the shortcut. I mean, it's still a little bit, a little bit tricky and a little bit of a challenge. But once you kind of get it down and once you master your fretboard, you're gonna know where these are going to be.
Can you write out a slash chord and then show them what it looks like on the ukulele? Because somebody was getting kind of confused about what what does the first note mean and what does the second note mean when you write that out.
Let's see. The first... Wait, what do you mean?
So, if you write out, C/E, right?
Right.
That the person was getting confused. What does the second... if the first tells you a C chord, what does the second one tell you?
The second one will tell you what the bass is.
Yeah,
so that means C, C chord, but with an E bass. Meaning E is the lowest note.
And that's all the time for whenever you see
a slash chord, So C is the major chord / whatever bass it is calling for. But that's not really the same thing because you could have a C/B, so a C chord with a B bass note. So that doesn't really apply to what we're talking about.
If you're looking at that, it'll tell you that's kind of the information you're looking for.
Yeah, because you have a C/F, so a C chord, but with an F bass. So that's not really the same thing. Yeah. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about slash chords. Not talking about slash chords. I'm talking about regular major chord and their inversions.
What the person was getting confused by was they said that the second note is the highest pitch, but it's the lowest pitch in the chord, right?
The second note,
When you see that written out. So, just wanted to clarify.
It's whatever that bass is. All right, so that was kind of long, but we also have 3 minor chord shapes. Now, same thing as our C, B flat, and G chord. I should have wrote it in order here. Is our A minor, G minor, and E minor chord shape. So if you want to search for your minor, your minor inversions, because inversions work the same way with your minor chords as well. So we have C minor here, and we have C, E flats, or C, E flat, and G for our C minor. So we have C, E flat, and G here for our C minor chord inversion. And we also have C, E flat, and G up here for our C minor. So this is a C minor, whereas this is a C minor, and this is also C minor. And this muting technique with the G is really, really, really helpful if you're playing inversions, because you don't have to play the full chord, whereas the full chord will look like this. Can't even play a clean C minor up here because it's just taking up too much, and then this is a full C minor chord here. So if you guys don't want those 4-finger chord shapes, you can stick to using your thumb to mute the top string and playing easy chord shapes like G minor and E minor. So it is in that particular order: A minor, G minor, and E minor. So our A minor chord shape, our G minor chord shape, and our E minor chord shape. So here it is. Our A minor chord shape relies on our A string. Pretty easy to remember. So whatever notes your A minor chord shape lands on the A string is going to be that corresponding minor chord. So if I wanted a B minor, I'll look for the B note on the A string. Then I'd form my chord shape around it. I get B minor. This is a D note. If I form the A minor chord shape around it, becomes a D minor. This is F. That's an F minor. This is a G. That's a G minor. Okay, our next chord shape is a G minor. It is on the E string this time. So if we were to look for a C note for our C minor chord, this is our C note on the E string. Build that chord around it. It is our C minor chord. Okay, next up is a E minor chord shape. And this is going to be on the C string. So C string E. If you build that minor chord around it, is going to be that corresponding minor chord. That's why our D minor chord is this. Just like if our E minor chord looks like that with the 0 here. Since D note is on the C string, that's our D minor chord. E minor. So our F note is right here on the C string. Build that chord around it. Gives you your F minor. Okay, so those are the 3, and in that order works just like your major chord. So C, and then we need a G minor chord shape, then we need an E minor chord shape. It'll be in that order. Then we have another C minor chord shape, so on and so forth. Questions? Works the same way as a major chord, but just these chord shapes.
I think we're good.
Okay, all right. So learning chord shape, notice that there are 3 different chord shapes, 1 for each note in the chord, 1, 3, and 5. Also notice that chord families on the new inversion also follows the same chord shape. Examples, G chord shape C family will have G chord family shapes. It's a lot to take in, but this is what I mean. So in the C major chord family, our 2-5-1, for example, D minor, G, and C. If I was playing in an inversion of G that looks like my C chord shape, if I were to play the 2-5-1 inverted, it would be like this. So just like that D minor, G, C. Look at the shapes. Will then be so my 2-5-1 in G can be inverted if we were to use the corresponding chord family, and that's what that means. So if you want to use that same chord family to to figure out and do it kind of fast, to do the inversions kind of fast, you can do that as well. So for example, if you're playing G, B minor, and C, right? And you want to figure out a chord inversion, and that is going to be your 1, then I believe that's 3, and 4. So 1, 3, 4 progression, right? And we said the next one is going to be a C chord shape. So we have our 1, 3, and 4. So instead of we then have questions.
Yeah,
that's kind of a lot.
Yeah, I think it seems like a lot, but
Yeah.
then when you start like thinking about the shapes more than the actual like
inversion itself,
or even worrying about like, oh, am I playing a G chord or something? You just start thinking about, oh, I know this pattern and I'm playing it in this place, right? So it's I think that's why like even like if we do stuff, sometimes it's easier to play something and then like when somebody asks like, oh, what are you doing? Then it's like you gotta stop and what am I doing? Like, oh yeah, this is what I'm playing.
Yeah, so it's a lot of information, but once you kind of try it out on your ukulele, you're going to see how those patterns kind of how they work on the uke and how easily you can find inversions after kind of getting them down.
It starts to become more muscle memory too, so it becomes way easier.
Okay. Next, so we haven't even touched inversions, extensions yet. So we have 4 strings. Basic major and minor chords have repeating notes. For example, G, C, E, C, or A, C, E, A for the for our C major chord and A minor chord. Okay, so our A minor chord has A, C, E, A, and our C chord is G, C, E, C. Okay, now because we have one note, at least one note that repeats itself or that doubles up, That means, since we only need 3 strings to create a chord, we can use the 4th string that is available to us to create an extension of that chord. So we can make that chord, we can extend it even further. And what do I mean by extensions? So these are our common chord extensions. First off, the 7th, which is the dominant 7th chord. This is what you would kind of get used to playing, like C7, F7, G7, E7. That's what that means. 7 chords. So 7 chords. Okay? What 7 chords are 1, 3, 5. So it's always going to have that. And then it's going to extend by one more note. So 1, 3, 5, adding a flat 7. So here's our 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. And what is our 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if we flat that by flattening it, lowering it by a half step, we have this. So we have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. That is your first chord extension. So same thing. You want to take your your G chord, for example. Here's your G. We have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. So we have 2 1 notes here. So we know that 1 is going to be 8. So here's the shortcut. We know that that's going to be 8. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that 8, we're going to lower it 2 frets down. Why? Because this then becomes our 7, the regular 7. Then we need to flat that 7 to that note. So we then have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Does that chord look familiar to you? That's your G7 chord. Same thing with our, say, F chord. Okay, so our F chord is this. We have F, right? F. Then if we lower it down by 2, by 2 notes, 1, and then 2 right here. So 1, 2. So if we take this F chord and then we add that, gives us our F7 chord. So we have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. Gives us our F7 chord. So that works with whatever whatever chords is already existing. Okay. Major 7th chord. So there's a difference between 7 chords, which is the dominant 7, and a major 7 chord. So 1, 3, 5, 7. So you don't flat the 7. So on our simple C chord, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. And then we know that this is 7. We went over it earlier. So 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7. So that's your C major 7 chord. Okay, same. Let's do it on our G chord. That's our 8. So this is our 7 right here. We just need to lower that by a half step. We're keeping everything the same. So now we have G major 7. 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5 major 7. And this works with your minor chords as well. So minor 7, if you're in a minor key, 1, 3, 5, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have our 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. So sorry, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, and 1, 3, 5, 7. We learned that was our 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's use our G string for that. So we have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7. So if you've ever wondered what your minor 7 chord was, if you saw A minor 7 or E minor 7, all it is just taking that same chord. So for example, E minor 7. So here's our E minor, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we just add that, That's our E minor 7. So of course, if you want that 3 still, you're gonna have to create that chord shape. So that's our E minor 7 chord. Our A minor 7 chord is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the A string. So 1, 1, 2, 3, which is C note. So 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is E. So I have A and C, A, C, E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's our G note. So we have 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7. Add 9. So what it is, we're literally gonna add the 9 in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is pretty much the same thing as 2. But then it's this high, so you have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, add 9. Nice. So here's our G. So we know, we just said it's the same thing as 2, 1, 2. So if I were to add that, so we have 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, add 9. Last but not least, we have a 6th chord here. 1, 3, 5, and 6. It all derives from 1, 3, and 5. We're just extending it. We're not changing the 1, 3, 5 at all. We're just extending that chord. So this is going to be a 6th chord. So a C6 chord is going to be C, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 6. Easiest chord ever, C6. Or A minor 7, as we figured out earlier. A, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7. So C6, A minor 7, same chord.
Those are the same chords too because of the extension.
Yes.
You kind of you couldn't call it like, oh, that's an A minor and that's also a C major. It's like, no,
it's not. It's not the same.
It's only with the added. Like I think that's some people get confused by that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I thought you said that it's a A minor 7, but you call it a C major 6. It's like
no, it's a C6
or C6.
C6.
Sorry,
C6.
It's like, oh, it's the same. You know, it's just called different things.
So if you guys have ever seen these extensions and like, oh man, I don't know how to play that. All you have to do is figure out the 1, 3, 5 and then add that, add that extension in there. May it be a flat 7, a regular 7, a 7 in a minor, or a 9, or a 6. You're going to have those extensions. That's the easy way to do common chord extensions, all right? So,
and the reason why you don't want to leave out the 1, 3, 5, or like, if say if you're doing like a dominant 7th chord,
yeah,
you do 3, 5, flat 7, it's not going to be the same chord that you're trying to.
No, you have your Hawaiian
D7. Yeah, so it's if you're going for a specific chord, you want to make sure that you have the 1, 3, 5,
1, 3, 5 to kind of build that, and then you're extending it. So it's chord extensions. Yeah. Cool. Questions? Kind of breeze through that. Because once we explained all that other stuff, it was a lot easier to explain this extension thing. Any last questions? All right. So, week 6 homework. That's pretty much it for for this week. I know it took all like the entire hour to explain all the stuff they wanted to explain, but you have homework over on Ukulele Underground Plus, and here's one of them. So it's basically just going through different inversions and scale shapes. So chord shapes. So the first exercise goes like this. It starts off with the A, 1, 2, 3, 4, then goes to the next inversion A, 3, 4, then 1, the next inversion, and then to the D, the next inversion, and then the next inversion up, and back to your A, next inversion, and then we'll play that C inversion. So exercises like these are available over at ukuleleunderground.com on UU Plus. So if you're a UU Plus member, go ahead and go download these. And you can also watch play-alongs. You can watch me play these and play along with me to do the exercises. All right? Any last questions before we wrap things up here?
Right now, those the homework and the exercise videos and everything, those are in the UU Plus forum. So find it there. I know some people they're like, where is it? Since we can't post this lesson up right now, it's always a little bit earlier. It's in the forum. Like if you're ever wondering where it is.
So next week we're going to be covering some advanced techniques. So if you guys are down for some bends, some half bends, some reverse bend, or or parallel octaves, it's going to be next week, I believe. So if nothing else, this does it for Ukulele Underground University's Uke 102 week number 6. All right, guys, have a great one, and I will see you tomorrow over at the Aloha Friday Live Jam, or after the show, we have the one-on-one coaching over on UU Plus. If you're having a hard time with anything, go ahead and go on the one-on-one. Show me what you're having a hard time with, and I will show you live, kind of like a private lesson, how you can get over whatever you're having a hard time with. Or if you want me to just kind of critique something and give you my give you my 2 cents on how you're doing, I can do that as well. So those are for all of you UU Plus subscribers. Make sure to take advantage of the one-on-one sessions over in UU Plus. You want to add anything, Kahai?
Next week we're earlier, or
yes,
like for the people who who recognize daylight savings.
Yeah, for those people who observe daylight savings, it ends this Sunday, I believe, right?
Yeah,
this Sunday. So that means next week for all of you folks who are daylight savings, observance, is going to be an hour earlier. So fall back is happening this Sunday.
Yeah, and Hawaii doesn't observe it.
Yeah,
That's
Hawaii
why
does not.
It's gonna change for you.
It's gonna be an hour earlier. Yep. Okay. And tomorrow we will announce the winner for our ukulele underground parody contest. So make sure to tune in for that. I'll see you folks next time. Have a great one. Aloha.